SMM is a pricing reporting agencies that throughout the years have developed business throughout base metals, ferrous metals such as coke and coal, iron ore, excuse me, and new energy metals such as, in our cases today, PV and lithium as well. This is one of the warm-up series for some of our sales and marketing teams member, as well as our project managing team member, to visit Intersolar EU next week in Germany, as well as AABC. So if you happen to be around the area, or if you happen to want to know more insights regarding PV markets, you are welcome to reach out to me via information below, and I'll circulate internally. Thank you. Two more minutes before we officially starts. And also, like always, this is not an individual effort, right? This is done collectively by myself and our researchers on the PV team. So this presentation will be divided into two parts. First part will be me delivering the keynotes, and the second part, actually, I'm glad to have three of our analysts from PV research team who focus on metals, in this case, silicon metals, polysilicon, as well as the midstream wafer and silicon cell, as well as downstream and which is module, and the very endstream, which are the demands. So those three individual analysts who are responsible for those sectors have joined us today. So after this presentation, if you have any questions, those will be the main one who answered them. One more minute. All right, so thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Gary, and I'm a senior sales member from Office Webinar, which focus on PV markets, including its main materials, poly, cell, wafer cell modules, as well as the additional materials such as film, EVA, POE, glasses, and backplane. And this is a very short introduction, or sort of like a go through of PV industry. Oh, before jumping into that sector, so today's main topic, or we're dividing into this presentation into four areas. First part will be the introduction to PV industry. We will showcase when what are the current progress. We'll showcase the current progress in terms of our regular survey on prices, on profits, on cost, as well as more comprehensive data such as inventory, output, capacity, etc. And the second part will be focusing on install capacity, right? So obviously, industries are bullish in terms of PV install capacity in this year, and we will lay out our view on what is the China data and what are the global data respectively. And the third, and the fourth part will be we'll take a deep dive into the main materials, poly, in this case, poly wafer cell and modules, and the additional material, auxiliary materials such as film, EVA, etc. And after that, we will have a Q&A section. So here is the introduction to PV sector. We are serving our information on a daily basis, especially for prices, right? That has to be done on a daily prices since it has been so volatile since late 2022. And we'll look at that later. So in terms of the enterprises that we survey, you can clearly see those numbers. One trend we noticed throughout the PV this main materials is that everyone is trying to be integrated so that their cost could be lower and and also they could have a better grip in terms of their whole supply chain. That happened extensively on the polysilicon front and on the module fronts. So the modulars, they are trying to extend their reach into cell, wafer, and even poly. And for the polysilicon producers, it is so natural for them to extend their impact to the downstream, to the wafer, and to the cell. Also for the poly and for the module, those two markets are a relatively concentrated market. If you look at the CR5 numbers, right? For the poly, CR5 is over 75%, and for the modulars, that number is over 78%. Solar cell is probably one of the most unique sector throughout the PV value chain that its CR5 is relatively low. And that's for the main materials. And for the auxiliary materials, again, for the film, for the glass, and for the backplane, we are serving that on a, again, daily basis. More people are focusing on our prices so that they could have a better understanding of the China markets. And again, similar story, we're serving industrial data on a weekly or monthly basis, such as inventory, etc. All right, so here is some of the key takeaways of the 8 different sectors. So for the poly, the production adopts 2 technologies, right? First one is improved Siemens process, and the other one is precision granular polysilicon. And we believed due to the large cost reduction of granular polysilicon, the production is expected to expand in the future. And for the silicon wafer, the market share of N-type silicon wafer has increased. The thickness of silicon wafer has become thinner, as we all know. The current mainstream P-type silicon wafer is at 150 millimeters, and the mainstream N-type is at 130 millimeters. The N-type silicon wafer below 110 millimeter is expected to dominate the downstream markets. The size of silicon wafer has become larger. The types have become more diversified. And in terms of solar cells, the P-type solar cell is replaced by the N-type solar cell at an accelerated rate, right? We all know that markets right now in this transit period from P-type to N-type. The market share of 210 millimeter cells has increased. The maximum, in terms of a conversion rate right now, the maximum rate is about around 27%. With continuous breakthrough in the PV cell technology, the stacked solar cell has become a new trend. And last but not least, on the main material part, that will be the modules. So the power increase with the improvement of performance of upstream and auxiliary materials that improves the performance of modules, and the market share of double glass expected to see 60%, and the market share of half cell eliminated PV module increases. And that is for the PV glass. I'm sorry, that is for the modules. Excuse me. And for the PV glass, so overall theme is that we are seeing the trend that throughout all different technologies such as large scale clean, white furnace mount, industrial players are trying to reduce its production cost. And similar story can be seen on film, on PV backsheet, and also on frame. Oops. All right, so that is the very short takeaway of the different 8 main sectors or 2 main sectors divided into 8 main subsectors. The second part will be the our projection or our assertion on the install capacity. So if we look at the chart on the left-hand side, first of all, we can see that the CAGR of global installed PV capacity was in the past 5 years, CAGR 5, was 49%. The CAGR in China was 14%, and in Europe it was 38%. Excuse me. And in the past 3 years, China demand has grown with a CAGR of 49, almost 43%. Next is Europe, is at 38%, was at 38%, and US was at 25%. And looking forward, taking into starting from 2023, the CAGR of PV installation demand, we believe globally will be 33.5%. And the leading market is US market, followed by China market. And 2 main factors or 2 main reasons contributed to US market being the leading market. First reason is that compared with China markets and EU markets, US base is relatively low. And second is that US market is seizing the opportunity of this tariff window that we believe ends on mid-2024. So, but overall, the demand is relatively strong, right? So we estimate in China, the number for install capacity, we estimate that number to be 140 in year 2023. And for global number, we estimate that number as 370 install capacity. And if we take a closer look on the China market, we record that for the first quarter in this year, the install capacity was somewhere around 33 gigawatts to 34, 35 gigawatts. Second quarter, which is the quarter that we're currently in, we estimate that number to be somewhere around 40, 41, and 42. So in summary, or in sum, the first half of year 2023, we a good chunk of 70 gigawatts install capacity is a very modest observation made by us. All right, so here, next part is the main materials. The key thing for main materials that basically on all sectors, starting from poly, starting from wafer, to the cells and to the modules, we're seeing an oversupply. So let's look at the polysilicon first. The polysilicon production capacity in last year was somewhere a bit over 1.2 million globally, and that number almost doubled by our estimation year 23 and reached 2.5 million. And the production number in last year was 900,000, and that number also had an astonishing increase to 1.54 million. And if we use the conversion rate of 2.4 into the whole 2.5 million capacity and convert that into the modules, we will have an install capacity of 530 gigawatts, which is obviously way over than estimation of 370 or to some 400 gigawatts of capacity. So we are seeing a very clear surplus in terms of supply on the poly fronts. And also on the wafer front, it's basically the same story. It's just on the wafer front, there is one key materials to produce wafer that is called quad sand. Quad sand right now is in a tight market, so to speak. And if you use the 500 gigawatts as output in year 2023, then in terms of tightness, wafer market is a bit better than polysilicon markets. And then moving into next part, which is cell. So cell market right now, obviously, again, we're in the transition period from P-type to N-type, and most of the expanding capacities starting from late 2022 is concentrated in the N-type. And in 23, the capacity will be the high supply of solar cell will be contributed by medium and low efficiency ones. And for 24 and onwards, we estimate that it will be a severe oversurplus of solar cell. And last but not least, we have modules. So modules traditionally in this sector, its margin is thinner when you compare with cell, wafer, and polysilicon. So in terms of the severeness of oversupply, we consider module market is the least oversupply market. But still, if you look at the capacity number, we estimate on year 23, 784 gigawatts, and the output that we estimate 444. Still, that is clearly a oversupply market, and we believe that continuously it will be the trend in the starting from this year 23 and 24, as you can see from the chart, to 25 on all aspects, on all sectors of the PV markets. If you want to consider, if you want to dive deep, or if you want to think about why this is happening, it is because, first of all, it is definitely benefited from all types of policies, right? In both China, EU, US, in terms of green energy transition, all the narrative definitely makes the downstream demand more robust. And that's one thing. And the other thing is that particularly in China, in last year, we'll get into that later. But if you look at the prices on the upstream, on the poly front, the cost is relatively low, but the prices are insanely high. For example, in here. So as we estimate that in terms of cost, there are two main production means. But both technologies is in terms of its cost are significantly lower than what we had in year 2022. So in year 2022, basically you are seeing a bull run on raw material prices starting from January and all the way till this October time. Though its cost was still somewhere like 47 for the cements, and for the granular one is 38 yuan per kilo. Its sell prices has exceeded way more than that, as you can see from on this chart, right? And then if you want to dive deep or figure why this phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3 happened, is that at the end of year excuse me, at the end of year 2022, the downstream market almost froze. So that due to a few reasons. First reason being that the price was too high. As you can see, it's almost exceeded the benchmark 300 yuan per kilo. So the prices are too high, and that weighs a lot to the manufacturers. And also, there were some regional COVID outbreak that sort of drags the production of wafer, of cell, of modules in different areas. So from that time, the prices start to drop all the way till almost touch like 100 yuan per kilo. And then after Chinese Spring Festival, which is somewhere here, the demand picked up. We noticed that based on the operating rate we surveyed from wafer, cell, and modules, the operating rate picked up, and we are seeing overall better demand. And that could also be seen on here, right, on this inventory data. So, and it is sort of like plays with the price data. And overall, we think that there is, in terms of the rest of the second quarter, during CNEC time, our analysts went to the CNEC and talked to the industrial players, and the consensus was that price should be continued to drop due to the massive expanding capacities kicked in second quarter. we still remember that 1.2 to 2.5 capacities, right? So that's one reason. And if you follow SMM price very closely, you could see that to yesterday, the raw material price was somewhere between 105 to 110, 115. And based on our survey, the lowest price that the lowest shipment price, the lowest dealing price right now in the market from second tier, third tier producers could be as low as 90 RMB per kilo. And that shows a lot of people's view on how this price will behave for the rest of Q2 and even for the rest of year 2023. And here is the production of silicon wafer. And you can see, you can almost treat this slides as an extension of polysilicon price. There are some few notable points is that please take a closer look on the inventory data. So on the inventory data, we recorded that the inventory, the wafer inventory climbed to 1.8 billion pieces at around the SNEC time, SNEC happened in Shanghai. And then after that, since our estimation of downstream was picking up and still is picking up, and also the prices were dropping, so that incentivized downstream. Its downstream to procure material, so that we believe the inventory is expected to drop to this low 1.2 billion pieces at the end of Q2. And last but not least, we have the modules. We have the modules part. We have the batteries part. So battery prices drop rapidly, and the TOPCon will contribute to the majority increase in the battery production in H2 2022. I want to specifically point out this chart. So if you take closer look on the N TOPCon proportion compares with other types of battery, in year 2023, the proportion is a bit over 29%. And in year 2024, we estimate the proportion to stand over 40%. And in year 25, we estimate that at least 50% of the market will be using TOPCon. And here is the modules. So in terms of the modules, again, basically same stories. An extension of what the upstream was following. It just we want to point out that on the module fronts, we as SMM are publishing more data, more price data specifically. So for the PERC double side 182, 166, and even the 210. So in year 23, the pieces of major raw materials in the upstream of modules will remain in downtrend, and this will stimulate the release of terminal demand, which means which in this case refers to the concentrated and distributed power station. All right, so and then we can take another look on the auxiliary materials markets. Basically, auxiliary material markets has a similar trend or has a similar theme to the main materials. Again, it's oversupply. So if you take a look on the, and I believe this will be the glass. If you take a look on the glass front, you are seeing that the double side glass capacity is again in oversupply, and then that can be said on EPE and on POE as well, as you can see here. And in terms of And in terms of the supply, so the oversupply of glass continues and the price to move closer to the cost line in year 2023. Overall, we believe that the price will drop to somewhere to its cost level somewhere at some point in time in year 2023, and we estimate that time to be at the end of Q3. And also, it's the POE sector. It's the POE and EPE sectors. So in terms of POE and the EPE concentration rate, it has improved, and the whole industry is moving into this quantitative volumes into this quality competition. And we can see that from on this chart, in terms of destocking, we're right now in this destocking phase, and the output is continued to reduce. So the trading volume of EVA in April to May decreased compared with March, and we believe that right now the inventory is at a reasonable level. So for those who are procuring materials, it is probably a good time to secure your supply. All right, so like I said, we are seeing a very clear picture in terms of main materials oversupply, and also on the auxiliary front, oversupply is still the main theme. Below are our key summaries. So okay, so we're in a severe surplus, and the profits of the PV industry chain is right now shifting to mid and lower reaches. And the price war is about to start, which means that in a market where products are similar, right now the customers are paying more attention to its price. And cost reduction and effectiveness in terms of technology breakthrough increase will deepen in the PV industry chain. The power station will focus on cost efficiency. Demand outlook is very positive. And last but not least is this P to N type transit period. And that could also stimulate a series of new technologies, a series of new materials to emerge. I'm sure you are very familiar with the story on this front. And again, so this is my contact. You are more than welcome to contact me if you want to request the slides, if you want to meet up with our project managing team who is working on research, as well as our sales team that will attend Intersolar EU next week. We hope that we could have some in-person catch up with you. So thank you for the time, and I'll leave the floor to the audience. So if you have any questions, right now is the time to type it, and me and our analysts will get back to you. Okay, and I suspect a good 10 minutes of Q&A time will be sufficient. So please type in your question in the question box, and we'll get back to you shortly. Right now, I haven't seen one. All right, so I'm having some questions coming in, but I have a bit technical problem to issue to open the question box. This is the first one I've seen. So on one of the first pages, you know CR. What is this? So CR refers to concentration rate. So CR5 refers to in one industry, the top five. What is the concentrate? What is the penetration rate of the top five producers? So if CR5 is 70%, that means that in this market, the top five producers are dominating or are in use or is having a proportion of 78 or 80% or whatever number I just gave you. Okay, so I've seen someone are typing, but I can't really. One second. All right, so I've seen some other questions. So this question is, how do you expect C demand to increase as stack cells become more common? I'm not sure about this SI demand you're referring to. Are you referring to are you referring to silicon metal, or are you referring to polysilicon? The trend we're seeing is that for N-type battery is that thinner, it goes thinner, right? And also it goes bigger. So before you are, people are looking at 166, 188, but right now we're 166 or even lower. But right now people are, talking about 180 and 210. So and in term when we conduct this sort of market survey, or our estimation in terms of how downstream demand or how certain technology uh, uh, drives its raw material uses. What we did is that we surveyed a ratio. For example, like in 188, what are the polysilicon consumed as average? So we surveyed that, and then we put that into our modules, so that when we give you the actual number, everything is sort of like priced in. But still, I'm a bit confused on this C demand. All right, so next question is that did China go through this oversupply situation in 2015 or 2016? Forced collapse of a lot of businesses. How does this compare to today's environment? That is a very good question. In year 2015 and 2016, oversupply was the thing, right? It was an oversupply market. However, you are not seeing a lot of investment, or at least as many investments as we have now in year 2015 or in year 2016. And the conversion rate, if the rate right now for, I believe, N-type battery, N-type is a bit over 25%, and I don't think that number is in place in year 2015 or 2016. So overall, yes, we are seeing an oversupply market, but that won't play again in year 2015 or 2016, where oversupply and then resulted in a total collapse of markets. I've seen this very long question. And for this one, I think we will get back to you individually. And one more questions. Is there any? Again, sorry guys. I've seen some questions, but I just can't read them. All right. Okay, so there's one more. All right, so here's this question. What are your thoughts on competing technologies that are dominant in USA, such as CDTE? I know what that technology is. I just can't say that in English. We think, CDTE is definitely the trend in security markets in last year, in China, domestic Asia. You are seeing a lot of investors who was going crazy on this part. However, we deem the biggest question right now is still the cost. If you compare the cost, we believe right now the N-type battery, the N-type is still the most cost efficiencies. PV industry is an industry that relies on massive production to reduce its marginal cost. So until we've seen that, it's very hard to make our own prediction. That's one thing. The other thing is that we are not only following what is trending, what is the current biggest market share, right? Remember, I was talking about the N-type being over 50% of markets in 25. We're also watching closely in terms of the technology breakthrough, because we believe that is always the key drive of PV, of solar. So when we have more information on that, we'll definitely get back to you, or publish news that on our website metal.com. I think I can do like two more. All right. I think I missed like one or two questions. I can't see them. Please, we have your questions actually for this one. So I've seen there's like a frame question related to a galvanized zinc coating, but I couldn't see the whole of it. So yeah, how to access this presentation? So for SMM subscribers, so for those who are subscribing to SMM service, you are able to download the slides by yourselves. And if you're not, you can reach out to me, and we could have a talk about it. And for others, I'm sorry, there are some questions I just missed, or I just can't really see. We will get back to you on email accordingly, because right now, I believe for the galvanized zinc coating question, that is the work done by our zinc team, who is not currently with me. So I will go back to them, and then I'll get back to you. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your patience. And again, if you happen to be in Intersolar in Germany next week, please shoot me an email, and we are very pleased to have an in-person catch-up. All right, thank you. That's it for today, and thank you for your attention. Bye-bye.